Okay, we are going to have a panel discussion now, and I've invited 4 people to be on the panel, and I'll request them to come up: Dr. Vinod Shah, Dr. Vijay Aruldas, Dr. Chinnababu. Dr. Chinnababu, are you there? Yeah, and Dr. Jalaja Veronica. Can you come up? There are 4 chairs there. We also want this to be a time where you can interact. So Abhijit, who has agreed to help me, is going to put up something on there's a QR code which is going to come up. You can scan it, and then you can respond to the questions, and we will see what your responses are. And you can also ask questions to the panelists later on. So there is a QR code. So take your mobile phones and you scan the code. There will be some polls, some of your ideas, and if you have any questions for the panelists or for me, you can put it on that. It will be displayed on the screen. That's what I'm promised. Abhijit, is it? Okay, meanwhile, we don't have much time, so I'll go on to the panel discussion. I want to introduce our panelists. Dr. Vinod Shah, all of you know. He's a senior person, a senior Christian leader in healthcare, and he was Chief Executive Officer of Emmanuel Hospital Association, and he was my boss then. Then he moved to CMC Vellore and started the distance education department, which has now become a very significant, large department impacting people all over the world. And then he moved on to be the CEO of International Christian Medical and Dental Association. And he brought some very remarkable changes and reforms in that organization. And now he's gone into something very different. He started a company that is looking into primary health care, and we'll learn a little more about it. So welcome, Dr. Vinod Shah. And Dr. Vijay Aruldas is senior to me in medical college by a few years. And he also chose an interesting career. He went into healthcare management, and he studied in the Indian Institute of Management in Ahmedabad. And that was something new for all of us at that time. And then he has been involved in different projects. He was also the General Secretary of Christian Medical Association of India for many years. And he still is actively involved at the Christian Medical College in Vellore. So welcome, Vijay. And Dr. Jalaja Veronica is a person I know since 1983. She's my classmate in medical college. And but I better read about her, because if I say wrong things, she may then catch me. So Jalaja Veronica is, she's the civil surgeon specialist in OB-GYN in the government of Telangana. And she's also done a post-graduation from Gandhi Medical College and a master's in hospital administration from ICFI University. So she worked in a mission hospital to finish her obligation, but after that she joined the government service. She's worked in some remote areas. She worked in tribal areas in Andhra Pradesh and other parts. And then she has had various positions within the government. And work in COVID and in maternal health is well recognized. And but she said, she claims that whatever she is and whatever she has done is because of the grace of God. And Dr. Chinnababu has been extensively introduced in the morning, but I just want to remind you, he's an oncosurgeon working in Yashoda Hospital. And as you heard him in the morning, he's very keen on technology and AI, and but he's like Jalaja was telling me, he's a referral oncosurgeon for many of you in Hyderabad. So welcome. And so I'm going to start by asking questions. Meanwhile, you can respond to the questions which are there, and we will see what the audience thinks. But I want to start with Dr. Vinod Shah. You've started working in primary health care with a focus on home-based care delivery. Can you tell us the relevance of this work in the context? The topic was ethical restructuring of healthcare systems. As a pediatric surgeon, wouldn't it have been better for you to start doing pediatric surgery units or something else, tertiary care?
Yes, thank you, Anil. I'm glad you brought out the reality of our healthcare system so that a lot of the young people will know what the problems are. Now, the real reason why I started home healthcare was because of the persecution of missionaries. So it was not really necessarily about primary healthcare. A lot of the missionaries were out of jobs because they were threatened and kicked out. One organization had lost 300 missionaries, and so they needed a vocation. And so I thought, why not use them in healthcare? And then at the same time, home-based care, chronic illness, diabetes, hypertension, obesity, cardiac, was a major problem. So I thought I could train them, create a curriculum, and then advertise it and get people to call them to the homes to provide service. But at the same time, they will not be able to take complete decisions. So I also started telemedicine software and telemedicine services. So I have a company called Pisces Health and Wellness that does both home health care and also telemedicine consultation. We have about 40 doctors on our panel, from neurologists to cardiologists to everyone. And in a mission setup, yesterday, just a few days ago, in the Koya field, we started a new telemedicine kiosk along with the Indian Evangelical Mission. Mr. Satish Kumar is here, who helped with that. And they are beginning to see patients who come there, and then they're getting connected to doctors all over the country, and they provide consultation, and they are charged a small fee for sustainability. So that is the model. We are just about breaking even, so I'm very happy that this model is working, and we are beginning to get calls from, initially it was only for 8-hour care and 12-hour care and 24-hour care, but now I'm getting calls for, I just had a call for ulcer on the penis and for edema of the legs, and then so we provide that consultation. We have a very sophisticated software, and I'll be interested in talking to some software experts so that it can also be connected. It's a decision-making software, and I also want to connect it to AI so that it can make its own decision. Anyway, so this is the model. It provides primary care at very low cost because we are using missionaries who are not nurses, and we are also using nurses. And so we don't have to pay large amounts of money, and people get services right at the home. So it is just one way of bypassing the expensive hospital-based care that we have currently.
I have one more question for you, Dr. Vinod Shah. Before that, you set up the Distance Education Center at CMC Vellore. Now, what kind of impact do you think it has had on medical education? And is that what you anticipated when you conceptualized and you started it? And what opportunities do you have in changing the way medical education is being done in India?
There was overwhelming evidence that family medicine is the best specialty, and it should be the most important specialty. 60% of all postgraduates should be family physicians. And this is the model that we have in the European countries and in Australia and in the UK. And there is a reasonably good health service that is being delivered. But in the US, where they don't have the family medicine system, where they spend a lot on tertiary care rather than primary care, their longevity rates are also lower than in Europe and in Australia. So everybody knows it's a fact that people have talked about for 50 years, and so it was not happening. So I thought I'll create a family medicine curriculum for the general practitioners in India, because general practitioners will not have time to come out for 3 years and do a family medicine course. At any rate, there was no MD family medicine. So I wanted to create a postgraduate diploma in family medicine, and that began training people. And what happened was the impact was somewhat unexpected. These alumni, thousands of them over now 20-year period, they exerted pressure on the government and then got them to start an MD family medicine, and they got them to recognize family medicine as a special course, and then also to be to have a career opportunity for them, like a Department of Family Medicine, assistant professor, professor, and so on. So we have that now in Vellore. So it has had an impact. It has produced a change in that way, because family medicine is pro-poor. Other specialties are more expensive.
I'll go on to Dr. Vijay Aruldas. Vijay, you've completed your studies in Ahmedabad, and you were part of the healthcare management network in the 90s. We have increasingly seen the application of market principles and management in healthcare. Now, it does have its positives, but it also seems to have had a significantly negative impact. So what is your perception on corruption in healthcare and the whole commercialization of healthcare?
Thanks, yeah. Actually, a lot of what I could have said, you said up in your presentation. So, but I think what you said is right. There is a lot of good and a lot of bad as well, and a lot of problems as well. I'd make a difference between, for the sake of clarity, between corruption and commercialization. Not all commercialization is corrupt. It can push people towards corruption. Corruption, as you said, is individual. Commercialization tends to be institutional. Having said that, there's a lot of good which has come out of, well, management, commercialization, corporatization of care, in the way care now reaches people. An example, not in healthcare, but in insurance, travel insurance, for example. Public sector travel insurance for a long time, perhaps even now, is very difficult to get when you go abroad. Whereas in the private sector, go to ICI, get on the website, and you can do it sitting in the airport. Before you board a flight, you get your insurance done. And that's because they identified a gap. And they created a service leveraging technology to make that happen. And that is what I think is a mandate for all of us to do, to find gaps. That's always been our mandate. Find the gaps. The question is, where are we looking for with the gaps? Who are the vulnerable we are trying to reach? And how do we operationalize it while remaining true to our values and to the calling God has given us? So I think while all of this is happening, and you put that out very well, I don't need to go through it. I think the real question is, how can we as Christians respond to the corruption that is part of our lives, as you said, to the corruption and the negative aspects of commercialization that we are forced to work with because of where we are. We can't isolate ourselves. How do we bring influence? How do we nurture others? How do we create networks of people perhaps who are ethical and concerned, so that we create alternatives? How do we give people information? You talked about cesareans and hysterectomies. And why can't we as Christians make very widely known how unnecessary hysterectomies are and how do you make good decisions, and make people know and give them an alternative. I think that is where we fail as Christians and as ethical healthcare professionals, Christians or otherwise. There are many across the country, across the state, across the city, I'm sure you know, who are really ethical and are concerned about this. We have to get together and transform healthcare that way.
Yeah, one of my concerns is the shift from sort of doctor-owned or medically owned establishments to non-medical proprietorship, and the investment of businessmen, because the main thing is now the corporate structure, you're responsible to your investors. And so profit maximization at the cost of patients becomes an interesting thing. And now we are moving into the next sort of phase where there's foreign direct investment. And there's a lot of foreign money, and even Indian business, Adani is pumping a lot of money into healthcare in Bombay and in UP and different places. So what kind of impact is that going to have, and what does it mean for Christian hospitals and mission hospitals?
Okay, two things. Yes, it's a fact. Private equity is increasing, growing in leaps and bounds. You gave some examples. Private equity works on the need to get a short-term, quick recovery on investments of, say, 20% per year over 2 to 3 years. So they are pushed to change. They bring in huge efficiencies, but they also cut corners in different ways. It's a fact in India, for example, that within the first 2 years, the average bill increases by 20% after a PE firm takes over a hospital. And this happens by the kind of patients they take, the kind of specializations they emphasize, and the ones they leave out, and putting in protocols which have excessive tests required, ethically on a fine line, often not necessary, maybe not downright unethical, but pushing people through revenue earning to make happen. So yes, it's a big issue coming up now.
Can you just help the medical students to understand what you're talking about? They may not understand clearly what we are...
Okay, so what basically, any corporate is that, the professionals, the doctors are expected to earn for the hospital. So they're given revenue targets to do. And they have also, for example, certain protocols are put down saying these are the kind of tests you need to do in every situation, even though they may not really be required. The aim is both to make sure the doctor does more and to make sure more tests are ordered. A comparison of angioplasty patients going to AIIMS and to a corporate hospital I won't name, the review of those cases showed that there was about a 50% increase in unnecessary angioplasties done on individuals going to the corporate hospital vis-a-vis those who had gone to AIIMS. This was done by looking at patients coming to AIIMS for a second opinion, having been advised angioplasties in a corporate hospital in the same city. So those are the kind of things which are done to do that, and I'm sure you will learn more about that as you go along.
So Jalaja, you worked quite many years in the government service, but you've also seen how the private healthcare and services have changed over the years. So what do you think? Is it really a serious problem like I've been talking about? Or do you think I'm just exaggerating? Or what do you think? What is your own experience about the things that I was talking about?
Thank you for the opportunity. Actually, when I joined service in 1997, from there till now, the government services have changed a lot. Like in terms of whatever schemes we got, Aragyasri, Laksha, NQuas, all that, with that, the quality of services, there is a chance for government doctors to give better services to your patients. Like if you want to, you can give it. Like you can insist on getting services. What I thought is, a patient who comes, 60 to 80% of patients come to government, most of the patients, because in India they cannot afford private or a corporate service. So most of them, they come to, in Telangana, 60% of deliveries happen in government hospital. So especially after the facilities which were provided. So the quality care has dramatically increased because of the skilled workers, training, and all these things. But if you're a doctor, you take forward your team to give better services to your patient. What a patient can get in a private hospital, you can definitely give the same services to your patient if you are passionate about it. That's what I feel, like you can make a change as a Christian doctor. Definitely, there are very few handful of Christian doctors in government service. And if you insist that you want to make a change, you are ambassador of Christ, you can definitely, when I joined service, I thought I'm missing mission hospital, because I always wanted to, through EU, everything, I wanted to go into a mission hospital. But then it was not possible. I joined government service. Always I had this thing, I did not work in a mission. I'm not continuing. But then later down, I realized that God has placed me there to bring a change. And I know, with conscience I can say, I have brought a change. So we, as Christian doctors, can bring change in a government service if you take up. Because don't think government hospital you cannot do, there is lot of corruption. No, without touching anything, you can give services to your patients. So if you are joining government service, be an ambassador for Christ, stand up for what is right. I had challenges. You won't get promotions. That's okay, don't worry. If you don't get a promotion, don't worry. You're standing there for Christ. You're not men pleasers, you're for Christ. You can do justice to your patients. That's what I feel.
Thank you, Jalaja. I want to move on to Dr. Chinnababu. You're working in a private corporate hospital. Is it a private hospital or
It's a private hospital.
Yeah. And so what are your thoughts on this whole thing about commercialization of healthcare in India? The thing was, when people started, a lot of people thought it was about an improvement in quality of healthcare. Like we said, world-class healthcare. Even now, that's the slogan. Adani, in his recent thing, he said, I'm going to bring world-class healthcare. The new companies are all talking about this. But the commercialization has also had a crowding effect. It has changed the way we practice medicine. Do you agree with that? What are your thoughts on that?
Thank you for having me, Dr. Adil. I think, see, as Dr. Vijay has mentioned, there's a lot of difference between corruption and commercialization. So we're looking at now commercialization. I think if you have to look from my own life, each one of us have a calling, we have a purpose, and if you know why God has put you in that particular place, you will be the salt and light. So, see, these changes will happen. Globalization, all the large corporates, conglomeration, all this is happening, right? Just like in any other industry, in healthcare also, it is happening, right? So now the question is, how do you stand as a witness? I think that's where I think we need to take a stand. And, the reason I'm sharing this is, when I was invited to join this new hospital as the head in the department, the first thing I told to the director was, you don't have a good name. Doctors are scared, patients are scared to come to you. Where do you want me to come and join you? He was smart enough to say that that's exactly the reason why I want you to. So I said, I will be that change agent. I will be the one who would stand in the gap between what is right and wrong, to be able to, bring that, accountability, transparency, or to bring that good name. So I think that opportunity we all have. The system we have, see, corruption is as old as humanity. It is not something that has recently come in healthcare. It has been there, and it will continue to be there till the Lord comes. And it will worsen as the days go by. So, but definitely, yes, the point is commercialization, large groups acquiring, and individual practices kind of vanishing, the family care being big time affected. It is a real problem. So I personally feel my take is that wherever we are given this call, we should stand for what is right. The one thing that I want to share is, as a medical professionals, we have that choice. The decision is in your hands. Nobody can enforce on it. At the most, what you may lose your job, that's all. You will get somewhere else. But Lord will definitely honor our decision. For me, when I was in Apollo, one thing that I stood for was there's something called intellectual dishonesty. For that particular patient, the decision that you have taken is right in the patient's interest or not. For example, laryngeal cancer, stage 1 T1 lesion. As a surgeon, I might feel that, okay, I might do a microlaryngeal surgery to excise the tumor. But I know, deep within my heart, giving a radiotherapy is the organ-preserving surgery for the patient. So I think as long as our integrity and this intellectual, honesty or what, is maintained, I think we can be the light in the marketplace.
Yeah. I have another question to you. There's a concern about the overuse and misuse of diagnostics and imaging. As I clearly stated, I'm not against technology, and technology, like you mentioned in your presentation, is essentially a tool. Correct. But the tool in the wrong hands can be misused. So the question is, if you give the tool to a greedy doctor or a greedy health manager, they're going to misuse it. So there is scope for misuse. Do you see that happening in the private medical hospitals, and do you see a large-scale misuse of technology?
To some extent, I disagree also with you on this, because black sheep is there everywhere. See, there is black sheep everywhere. It is not that, we are kind of labeling somebody that, you are doing wrong. Definitely, yes, there is some pressure, which I fully agree. There is some pressure, though. For me, if you ask me in the last 20 years, never was I questioned per month, what is my number of investigations, number of PET scans, CT scans, MRIs, never. That question never surfaced to us. You define what is expected of you. I think in that way, you can stand for sure. It is not something that you have to live with it pressure and, you have to conform to the practices of this world. It need not be. In fact, today I see that people are more scared of their brand value. That's the reason they don't even utter these things these days, because they want to build their, the trust in the patients. So because trust is the new currency. So having said that, it is ultimately the individual doctor's decision rather than the hospital management pushing these days. This is the last 3-4 years of my experience with the big corporates coming in. So I feel it's you decide. You see, for example, we have radiotherapy, we have the MR Linac, the highest 100 crore investment. We have regular radiotherapy machine. So for a CS cervix, regular radiotherapy machine is enough. You can do the whole treatment in 2 lakhs, whereas MR Linac will cost 6 lakhs. So in that sense, again, this is intellectual dishonesty, wherein what is your primary goal? Are you looking at revenue, profit as a primary goal? Then you would push towards, most advanced technology that you have. So I think it's up to you to decide, and you need to take a stand is what my take.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the escalation of costs?
Cost escalation, see, to be frank, coming from a private sector, what I feel is if you want a quality healthcare, there will be some cost. See, I can get a tea from a roadside vendor at 10 rupees, and you want to have a tea in 5-star hotel, it's 500 rupees. Because there is AC, there is a lot of maintenance, there is a lot of other things. So, but again, the question is, are we exploiting unnecessarily doing? That is a different issue. So once you have a high-end equipment, cost is imperative. For example, robotic surgery. The robo cost for the consumables is 1 lakh, and the robo cost is 20 crores. So for each patient, at least 2 lakhs per patient is what the cost that they have to bear. But if you look at the overall cost in terms of the morbidity, in terms of other advantages they have, I think there is a gain. So we don't look into those things when we look at cost per se. Because I was just listening to your presentation as well with respect to cesarean section in 10 to 15,000 versus 1 lakh. I think, we cannot compare orange with apple. Because I also serve in a community cancer center in Nizamabad. I go every Friday for the last 15 years. And we made a sustainable model there wherein, we serve the poorest to the poor, 5 districts in North Telangana, only cancer center. But still with the Linac able to serve under government schemes. So I think if you put a very high-end machine, the same you cannot, recover the money. So sustainability becomes an issue. I think one of the challenges most of the mission hospitals had also is the sustainability, even as we look at, the cost factor as a significant thing once you get new technology or new equipment. I think that's where somewhere you have to bridge that gap and look at that. Because just to give a small example, the healthcare cost in India versus in the US, it is 10 to 20 times more there. So, I'm not really, again, this could be a wrong comparison, but still, when you say that, we are at par, we want the best, I think there is some cost involved in it as well, because you have to invest on the equipment.
Okay, before I move on, Abhijit is reminding me that we need to scan. We have not got any responses. So, what you do is you scan and then you can respond. There is a poll that comes on your mobile phones, and you can just tell us what your thoughts are, because we want to hear from you. We've been hearing from panelists, but we also want to hear from you. And we have a little time left. If any of you have any questions that you want to ask or clarifications that you need, you can also raise those. So can you respond? Abhijit, is there any response coming? Okay, can you please take a few minutes to do that? We are out of time. So since we are running out of time, I want to put a question now to all the panelists. Now, when we talk about the Christian presence in healthcare, in some ways, today most of us have relatively become insignificant, and as Christians. So in this sort of healthcare system that we exist in, how can we show integrity to our witness? How can we do, if you have any ideas on how we can restructure, that was the topic really, how do we ethically restructure the healthcare system? Yeah, so this is to any of the panelists. If you have any ideas, you could.
I feel the government has abrogated their responsibility by not investing enough in primary care. They are investing only, total health investment is only 2.5%. Out of the 2.5%, a lot of it goes to medical colleges and city hospitals. And so there is very little investment in primary care. And because of the fact that they have held back, the private sector has had to take it on, and private sector, because of the fact that it has been done by investors, is not simply not a private hospital, it's a corporation, and so they will want to make a lot of profit, and so there will be escalation in the cost of healthcare. Now, the only way to bring it down is for the government to scale up their work. And so my proposal to all of you would be to join government service. So far we were asking you to join mission hospitals, but the mission hospitals, I think you should join mission hospitals, but now there are not so many left. And lots of doctors are being trained. So I would suggest that lot of the doctors should flood the government sector and change the way government functions so that they take away the healthcare that is provided in the private sector and bring it back to the public sector, because public sector is pro-poor, and so the healthcare costs will come down if we do that.
Vijay, Jalaja.
I would disagree with you saying, we are not relevant. I think we're hugely relevant. The question is, who's the we? I think as Christians, we're hugely relevant, and both of you talked about that. Wherever I've been, probably the time I visited government hospitals, most of when I was doing my thesis, I visited about 10 taluk hospitals in Tamil Nadu, spent 4 or 5 days in each. And in many of them, the person who I found was most responsive to the queries I had, but is also well regarded by others, would often be a Christian doctor or somebody who had worked in a mission hospital and was there now, may not be a Christian at all. And that person would say that my time in the mission hospital, Otanjatram, somewhere else, were influential times for me. I think we have an important role to play, and we are called to play that role of being salt where we are. And that is what we must not lose track of. So whether it's in government or in corporate sector, providing that value stance, providing the concern for the vulnerable, standing up for right is important. And I also agree that when you stand up for what is right, and if you're an effective worker, that's important, you will not be questioned. They will be scared to question you because they know that you speak the truth. And when you speak the truth, others know and acknowledge that, however corrupt they may be. So stand up for what is right wherever you are, and you will be the salt.
Jalaja.
Yeah. May I know how many are in government sector? Government medical colleges? Who studied in government medical colleges? Most of you. So what I have noticed is, main thing we lose is integrity and credibility. These two things. Where does it start? It starts the day of your attendance. When you are asked to come at 9 o'clock, we go at 10 o'clock and then say, why did you ask me to come at 9 o'clock? Okay? People are watching us. Who are around us, they are watching what type of a Christian we are. Then, on a duty day, you go out of, you're supposed to be there 24 hours on duty in the hospital. But some of them bunk duties, right? I'm talking correct because I've seen, okay? These are the things they keep watching us. The people around us, they keep watching us. And then, it's okay, go extra mile. I'm not telling you to be a doormat, but go extra mile for your patient. When a patient is sick, when patient needs you, you can't just leave the patient and go off saying that my duty is over. That's where you make a difference. When your duty is over by 2 o'clock, it's okay to stay 1 more hour for the patient's sake. So these are the things which you can make a difference at. And when patient doesn't need a hysterectomy, I keep telling them, you don't need. It's okay. When I was young, they said this doctor doesn't know how to do hysterectomy. They told me on the face. Now I'm a senior doctor. When I tell them, they will listen to me. So it's a matter of time. It's a matter of patience. It's a matter of endurance. It's okay. You can make a difference in your healthcare around you, the sisters, the sanitation workers, everybody can see a change in you. You can make a change. Because people have told me, we haven't seen a doctor like you in a government sector. I'm not boasting of myself, but I am telling you can make a change. So like Sir said, come into the government service. Let's make a change as a Christian doctor. And this will help many of your patients and thereby our country also. So that many patients can be benefited. Free service. Because once a CMC doctor, my colleague told me, when I showed my hospital picture, he said, you are doing much more than what we are doing in CMC. At least for a normal delivery, we collect some amount. But whereas in the government, you don't have to collect money. You just have to give services. They go free. Right? So I invite you into government service. Let's make a change in the government service to stand up for what is right. Okay?
Dr. Vinod Shah, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I also wanted to just talk about corruption. One honest person can thwart 10 corrupt people. And so your being in an organization and your being honest will actually help cleanse the organization. Like even in a private hospital, if you're in a private hospital, then what you could do is to hold on tightly to your principles so that everyone knows that. And when they know that, there'll be some degree of fear of wrongdoing, and there'll be others who will be converted to your way of thinking. And so you are making an impact for the kingdom of God. So you have to realize that even if you're in the minority, if you hold on to values, your influence will be very, very huge.
Yeah, I think we'll have to come to an end. Dr. Chinnababu, you wanted anything to say?
Yeah, no, just wanted one comment that today, to really bring that change in the ethics and restructure, trust is the new currency. Data is no longer the new currency. Today, if anybody wants to send a patient to a private hospital, people are scared to send to a private hospital because they don't trust. The fleecing of unnecessary, all that fears are real. So given that, to be able to have the trust, I think we need to have the transparency, and we need to keep the patient at the center of our care, not our any other motives. The purity of motive, that patient is the center of your care, and then I think transparency in the billing and everything, your communications, then trust will be there, and with that trust, I think you will definitely do well. I think that's where I can see a change coming in. Thank you.
Thank you to all the panelists. Just before we finish, there was a poll done. Abhijit, can you show the results on how many think that there is significant corruption in healthcare in India? And it said 95%. So what this suggests is that most of you are convinced that it is a problem. And there were questions, we can't take the questions now, but one question that was asked is, what can we as Christians do for this? And that was the main reason for doing this presentation, because 20 years ago, we just said, there is corruption, but we didn't do anything. Today, it has come back to affect us, right? All of us, wherever we are, whether it's our families, our practice, whatever it is, it's affecting us. But we should not be on the back foot. We should be saying, how can we as Christians change this? How can we make a difference? How can we change the situation? And you have some examples, but I think this conversation should go on, and you can take time to meet the panelists, ask your questions further during tea time or dinner time, sometime during the breaks. And we hope that from this conference onwards, we'll go, at least like Joshua said, you have a choice, but we will make a decision that you, your family, we will take a stand that we will not be part of this wrongful, corrupt, and we will be thinking about the poor and concern for the poor. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to the panelists.